Most people assume retirement planning is difficult because the math is difficult. That is not true. It is difficult because smart people keep adding things that do not need to be there. I have seen engineers, doctors, executives, and business owners spend years optimizing spreadsheets, projections, and scenarios. They understand compound interest. They understand risk. They understand markets. And still, many of them retire anxious, constrained, or quietly disappointed. Not because they lacked intelligence, but because intelligence, when unchecked, tends to overcomplicate what is fundamentally a behavioral problem. Smart people like control. They like optionality. They like to keep doors open. And retirement is the phase of life where too many open doors becomes a liability. Let me explain. A simple retirement plan answers 3 questions. How much do you need to live? Where does that money come from? What happens when markets disappoint you at the wrong time? That is it. Everything else is optional. But smart people rarely stop there. They add optimization layers. They chase tax perfection. They add tactical tilts. They introduce leverage. They rebalance constantly. They model 12 futures instead of preparing for one realistic one. What they gain in theoretical efficiency, they lose in clarity. Complex systems are fragile. Simple systems are resilient. Overcomplication shows up in predictable ways. Too many accounts, too many products, too many strategies that depend on future behavior staying perfect. And retirement is not the time when behavior stays perfect. Energy declines, attention narrows, tolerance for uncertainty drops. You do not become less intelligent, you become less interested in managing complexity. This is where smart plans quietly fail. They require perfect rebalancing, perfect discipline, perfect emotional control during downturns, perfect execution year after year. That is not realistic. And deep down, you already know it. There is a difference between being able to understand complexity and needing to live with it. Retirement exposes that difference. Let us talk about the most common overcomplication: the obsession with the perfect portfolio. Asset allocation debates, factor exposure, geographic tilts, alternative assets added for marginal diversification. None of these matter if your spending plan is fragile. If a 15% market decline forces lifestyle cuts, the portfolio was not the problem. The structure was. Smart people focus on returns. Retired people need stability. Another common trap is tax optimization taken too far. Taxes matter, but flexibility matters more. Locking money into rigid structures to save a few percentage points can backfire when life changes, health changes, family changes, policy changes. Complex tax structures reduce optionality at exactly the moment you need it most. Then there is the illusion of control through forecasting, Monte Carlo simulations, withdrawal models, probability curves. They feel scientific, they feel precise, but they rely on assumptions that will not hold for 30 years. The goal of planning is not to predict, it is to survive disappointment without panic. A good retirement plan does not assume markets behave. It assumes you will have moments of doubt. That is why simplicity matters. Simple income sources, clear spending tiers, obvious decision rules. Rules you can follow even when you are tired. The most effective retirement plans I have seen share 3 characteristics. First, they separate essential spending from optional spending. Second, they build cash and safe income buffers that absorb volatility. Third, they intentionally leave returns on the table in exchange for sleep. Smart people resist this, because leaving returns feels like failure. It is not. It is maturity. Retirement is not a competition. There is no scoreboard. Your goal is not to maximize wealth at death. It is to minimize regret while alive. That requires fewer moving parts, not more. If you are still accumulating, Complexity can sometimes be tolerated. You have time, you have income, you have recovery capacity. In retirement, mistakes are permanent. This is the shift smart people struggle with. They keep playing an accumulation game in a decumulation world. They measure success by net worth instead of cash flow, by upside instead of durability. Eventually something breaks, usually confidence. And once confidence breaks, behavior follows. The solution is not dumbing things down. It is aligning the system with human limits. Ask yourself, would this plan still work if I paid attention only once a year? Would it survive a bad decade? Would it still feel manageable at 75? If not, it is too complex. The paradox is simple. The smarter you are, the more discipline it takes to accept simplicity. And in retirement, simplicity is not laziness. It is wisdom.